I'm pleased to say I'm joined by the winner of this week's Modus Icons of Darts, Dave Evans. Dave, how you doing?
I'm not too bad. How are you? Thank you very much.
Doing all right, and thanks very much for the time. And we spoke at the World Masters, and you mentioned about your exploits in that tournament at a very young age. But going back before then, how did you first discover darts?
It was my father, actually. He got me playing when I was about 7 or 8 years old. He used to run a lot of pubs with my mum. And the only sports that was, obviously, while living in a pub as a kid, was pool and darts, and it was darts that I chose.
And it was the 2002 World Masters, a few days before you had turned 13. You were playing in the men's event at Bridlington Spa. Talk us through, firstly, how you qualified for that event at such a young age.
I believe, from what I can remember, it was a qualifier. And I went to, I think it was somewhere in Yorkshire. I couldn't believe it. It wasn't Bridlington. It was somewhere, I'd say about 20 minutes away from Bridlington. I qualified from there and then went and played in the men's. And I didn't realise I was actually playing in the men's qualifiers until the actual day when I got there. But yeah, it was a good experience. Bit nerve-wracking at first, but when you get on the board, it's really good.
Yeah, and you made the last 16 that year. What are your memories of that run? I remember you telling me that made you one of the youngest players to have played in the men's draw at that time.
Yes, yeah, it was. I didn't know that until afterwards, when somebody had actually mentioned it. But to be one of the youngest players to play in the World Masters in the men's and still to this day it's a good achievement for me, and obviously carrying it forward is good. So,
in terms of darts after that, what did you get up to in the years that followed? Did you still play much, or did other things take more of a priority at that time?
Yeah, I mean, it was sort of a mix between school and darts, really. Still playing obviously the odd few things. I think my first ever county team was when I lived down in Cornwall, and that was for Cornwall Youth. And then I've moved back up north and played for Lancashire Youth and also Cumbria for a year as well. So still carried on the darting dreams even while doing through school as well. So.
And your first Q School, I believe, 2016, and you played on the Challenge Tour that year as well. What gave you the drive to give the PDC circuit a go?
It was actually a friend of mine. I was just playing local league with him. He was Mick Bushby Jr. And he's I'm not sure if he's still playing now, but he said, I'm going playing this PDC Challenge Tour. Do you fancy coming? I said, well, what is it? He said, well, you pay so much into it and you could potentially win whatever money and you play against decent players. So I tried that, and that was the first time I tried it.
What was your real first impressions really of giving Q School a go and playing on the Challenge Tour? What did you make of it?
The Q School, when I first thought about it, I thought, well, it's going to be tough, but I didn't realise how tough it was. It was sort of, coming up against 17, 18-year-olds, hitting 10, 11 darters for fun. And you start thinking, am I actually good at this game? When you see these kids, but then you just got to persevere with them, and experience always tells through, to be fair, from when you get a youngster to when you've got an experienced player that have done it before. But yeah, it was quite frightening at first, to be fair.
Yeah, that was the word I was going to use, persevere with it, because we saw 2 years later that you're winning events on the Challenge Tour, and 2019 more of the BDO circuit you've been playing on as well. When did the idea to try and pursue a spot in the BDO World Championship come about?
It was after the year of Q School that year. I turned around and basically said, I won the Challenge Tour title, and I thought, well, go for Q School. If I don't get a tour card, then I'll try the BDO and see if I can get to a BDO World Championships. And luckily enough for me, I was playing well at the time, so it just gave me that edge to go forward with the BDO and try and do it through that way, and luckily enough I did.
And obviously there's probably been a few differences in what memories you have of between 2002 playing the World Masters and then coming back onto the BDO circuit. What were the main differences that you found playing it more often last year?
Standard wise, the standard has gone so high. I mean, I know people say that obviously the PDC is the higher standard, but there are so many new players coming onto the BDO at the moment that are capable of hitting the Michael Van Gerwen averages of like 104, 105. Also staying in the averages of sort of 94, 95. all throughout the tournaments. And for example, I'd never heard of Wayne Warren before, and Nick Kenny, etc. While I was a youngster, but now you go and play the BDO, you know of those people, and you know to be wary of them because they are brilliant players. Obviously, Wayne winning the world title this year. I think, is he 56, 57 years old? A great player and a great guy. And you never used to see those back in the day.
Absolutely, and we saw towards the end of last year you were on the Pro Tour beating Gary Anderson, and I remember you saying about it was quite short notice you getting the call up to play in those events. But how did you find that experience going up against the top pros in a PDC tournament like that?
Oh, it's brilliant. It really is good. I got off the plane. I was going to actually play a BDO event in Ireland, and I got the call as soon as I got off the plane saying, "Can you get to?" I think it was Dublin. I was in Belfast, and said, "Can you get to Dublin for 11 o'clock?" I said, "I can do, but it's going to be pushing it tight." And I got there at 10 to 11, and I ended up being on the Pro Tour, and it was an experience, real good. To be in a room with all those players, including Michael Van Gogh and Gary Anderson, Peter Wright, etc. It was like a dream come true of thinking, I want this full time. So it gives me that added belief that I want to get a tour card playing with those guys week in, week out.
And we come on to this year, 2020, start of the year, you made your World Championship debut at the O2 in the BDO, and as a seed as well, making the quarterfinals on your debut. How did you reflect on your first appearance in a World Championship?
It was, the first game against Nick Fulwell was nerve-wracking. Obviously, thinking about it too much of, being on the TV and having people watch, millions of people watching the TVs and the Eurosport, and obviously off the stage as well. But it was great. After I'd won that first game, I'd actually got belief that I'm thinking, I can actually do this. To be able to come back from the brink of defeat against Nick with the 107, which I will remember for the foreseeable future. But yeah, it's a great experience, and to come through two games, especially against Richard Veenstra, who was the world number 3 at the time, it's brilliant for me. Great achievement.
Yeah, it was good to see him. Q School, though, didn't go according to plan for you after that, but we've seen you play a combination of the Challenge Tour as well as the WDF, the BDO circuit. What was that the plan for you for all of this year before the virus struck?
Yeah, it was to carry on doing the Challenge Tour and the BDO WDF side of it. Obviously, with the tour card holders out of the rankings at the minute, I think it's put me up to number 6, I think. So if they're still doing the Grand Slam spots, then at the moment I'm in a Grand Slam spot. So I've just got to try and keep up that level of play that I'm playing, and see if I can win a few BDO tournaments and also Challenge Tour tournaments as well.
It's probably hard to say at the moment with what's going on, but in terms of goals, you mentioned there potentially the Grand Slam, but going forward, is the main goal for you to get back to Q School next year and get that tour card?
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I'm not just with the isolations going on and stuff like this, with this horrible virus that's going around. It's hard, but I'm not just sitting around doing nothing. I'm constantly practicing, making sure that I've got my A game ready for Q School next year. Yeah.
Let's get on to this week then. You were selected in Modus Icons of Darts the first week, playing against other players from home. How keen were you to get involved then in playing other top players during the lockdown?
Absolutely. As soon as I got asked to play it was a straight yes. Sort of, what do I need? Do I need to do it, etc. And we had everything set up within a couple of days at my house. We got webcams, laptops, etc. All laying around where my board is, and it's really good to be able to get back to competitive sport again.
And you've done really well, winning 2 of the groups during the week, and you ended up finishing top of the overall table. But how did you find playing the games from your own boards at home? Was it weird at first to get used to?
Yeah, it was. It was weird not having an opponent in front of you or behind you, just playing on your board as if you were, practicing at home. But you can see what they're throwing at. You can hear them, and you know they're there. So it's slight pressure off because you've got no one in front of you or behind you, but you can still know that they're there, and you know that they are trying their best to beat you. So you've got to do the same.
And lastly, I know this is something that the Modus are planning to do for a few more weeks at least. I know they've got a finals that they're looking to do, but are you hopeful of being included in some of the other tournaments? And who else can we expect to see picked to play? And who, if you had a choice, would you like to have a game with?
I mean, I'm hoping that they do carry myself. And obviously, Raymond has been a great addition this week. Hopefully he does carry on. And if I'd like to see anybody in, I'd like to see Phil have a go. To be fair, Phil Taylor. Whether he would do or not is a different matter. He's probably a very busy man doing other things. But it'd be nice to play Phil. I don't think I've not played Phil since I was 11 years old. So it would be nice to have another crack at him.
Definitely. Well, fingers crossed for that, and well done again on how well you've played this week, and wish you all the best for the rest of the year and when everything gets back up and running.
Thank you very much, Alex. Cheers.